What's going on, my college football friends? This is Jerron Jones. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Ray Roberts, right over here, and we are the RPO College Football Podcast, coming to you live from our rooms. And we got a lot to talk about today because number one has fallen. Number one has fallen. And I'm not gonna act like I'm happy because I am, but I'm not gonna act like I'm happy. Let's not go there. We're gonna talk about that game in a little bit. But Ray, before we even get started, man, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing well.
That's great, man. That's great.
Doing well.
I had a crazy day today. I got an interview today. I'm gonna say who it is. Spoiler alert: Isaiah Likely, tight end, just had 8 receptions, 232 yards, and 4 touchdowns in the game as tight end for Coastal Carolina. So, guys, definitely check that out on our website, Inside the Hatches, and on our YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that. That's super exciting. But my day was crazy, man. My day was crazy, but not as crazy as college football was this past weekend. We got a new number 1 now. Alabama losing teams. We got like 5 or 6 Big Ten teams in the top 10 right now. How are you feeling about this week, Ray?
It was exciting. It was a little surprising. Of course, Alabama getting knocked off is usually always surprising, even though, like we were talking about, like if you're a betting person, you don't bet on Alabama right now. They're not playing good football. They're winning, but they haven't covered their last 4 games in a row. So stay away from them.
Yeah. Alabama, I mean, we kind of said this in the beginning of the season, and we're always trying to see if there's going to be some kind of weak link in that team, and we see it now. It's really starting to show with all the new parts and things like that. And the weird thing is that we thought like as the weeks gone, it would have got better, and it's not really like that. It seemed like it was okay in the beginning. You're like, all right, they look good, a little rusty. They don't look that well, but as the games keep going, they're gonna be better. And it's right now with them. So we're gonna definitely talk a little bit more about that and get a little bit more acclimated. But guys, as you already know, if you are live in here and you are chatting in here, we do live chats in here. So if you want to put your comments right down at the bottom, please do so. We will put it on the screen and we will comment on all your chats and comments and things like that. So let's get into our first week 6 review, Ray. We're going to talk about Arkansas and Mississippi State. Ole Miss. Ray, this game, I thought I beat you in this game. We had our differences in our game. If you guys not following, we are doing our pick'ems. So we will have some more pick'ems today. But Ray, I thought I had you in this game.
By 1 point. I was a little surprised that it's one of them. It's a tough spot. If you go for a win and you get the win, people think you're a great coach and you're really smart. And if you don't, and you don't at least tie the game and go to overtime, people will second guess you every day. So, I don't have any allegiance or ties to Arkansas or Ole Miss, but I don't know what I would have done. When people question play calling, I only question play calling when I don't see plays that run together, like when you don't run this play to get to this play. I don't question play calling with or timeouts. Like usually, if you're a head coach, you need to know when to call timeouts and when to not burn your timeouts. Andy Reid still hasn't learned that, but you do need to learn that part of it. But people need to understand when you're a coach calling a play, you have like 20, 30 seconds to get that play in there.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it in there, you are lost. And you really, unless you've been a play caller at any level, you really have no concept of what that's like. So
yeah, I agree. Flash decisions, heat in the moment, emotion sometimes, it's a lot. And you're like, well, I got to play from practice that we've been practicing on 3 weeks ago. We're gonna do it now. Let's get it. It's gonna work. And you try to convince yourself it's gonna work, and you're like, this is good. And then get to the line, it doesn't work. It just
I mean, you're a coach and you're an underdog and you're playing a pretty good team in Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I got 30 seconds. Do I want to go for the win or do I want to go for a tie and then go to overtime? You're probably thinking, you know what? I'm the underdog. Let's just go for the win. And then you don't get it.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have and of course you're going to have people question you every day. But again, I'll give kudos to the coach from Arkansas for at least having the guts to go for it. So
yeah, it was definitely a split decision. Ole Miss was favored by 5 at home. Yeah, this was a good game though. All around, I think it was a good game. Obviously the Rebels defense sealed the deal for them. Both teams had over 600 total yards. Pretty balanced in their yardage and things like that. Both quarterbacks played decently well, except for Jefferson. He had one interception, but this was one of the funner games. And obviously, I didn't watch this game because I was in between that game and the Michigan game, of course. But it was definitely a fun game to watch, and oh no, it wasn't a Michigan game. I was watching Oklahoma. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was watching an Oklahoma game at the time, and I was just like, man, this is these two games are coming down to the wire, and we're gonna talk about Oklahoma in a second. Right next. But right before we get to the next game, any other last words from this game?
No, I just think you covered it. I mean, it was a good game. If you like high scoring games, it was very good. Quarterbacks KJ Jefferson and Matt Carroll both had very nice games. It was the one pick, but Jefferson had a lot on his play. He threw for 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns. So he played his butt off in that game. And honestly, Jerome, I wasn't even going to count that as a loss for you. But I do appreciate the fact that you were man enough to take it,
I can't deny it. Listen, I'm a fair person. I don't cheat the system. I don't cut corners, man. A loss is lost in my opinion, man.
No. Obviously, Arkansas gets up, Sunday morning, Monday morning, and feeling like, oh, we lost the game. We maybe could have won. Right. And Ole Miss is thinking, oh, thank God we won that game. We probably should have lost.
Mm-hmm.
But as a guy who watched a decent amount of the game, and I watched all the highlights in the game, I thought it was a really fun game to watch. Mm-hmm. I just thought, man, neither team really deserved to lose, but someone had to lose,
Definitely. Before we move on, what's your thoughts on Matt Corral?
I think Matt Corral definitely has NFL potential. I don't know if he's ever going to be a starter, but he does some nice things in rhythm passing, and he's got enough size to get a shot. So,
yeah, I'm seeing this draft class is starting to become so bad that he's in the first round right now. This quarterback class went from 5 guys that probably could have been in first round to maybe even 1. It is bad.
Right now, the quarterback class is looking really bleak, and they're not looking good. And if you take Matt Corral in the first round, you should not be an NFL GM or scout anymore.
It's crazy. Talking about one quarterback to another that could have been a top quarterback. We're gonna go to Oklahoma versus Texas. Spencer Rattler was bad. I mean, if anything, we talk about this game, right? If you guys have not been watching this, the one thing that we always said about these two teams is they're both inconsistent.
Yes.
And when we have 2 inconsistent teams, there's always 2 inconsistent things that happen. Texas started the game blowing out Oklahoma. I believe it was 20.
You are freezing.
At halftime, it was 38-20.
Yeah.
Oklahoma was losing 38-20. And all of a sudden, the game just completely flipped around. They took out Spencer Rattler. He got benched after a pick. And then the young guy, Williams, came in and was 15 for 24, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Looked way better than Rattler at the moment. Ray, is Rattler done? And two, I want to know what you thought about this game.
I thought that Oklahoma showed a lot of fight in the game, to be honest with you, not to give up on it.
Yeah.
I was very surprised by how poorly Texas defenses couldn't hold a lead.
They fell apart.
And I think Spencer Rattler is done in Oklahoma, but I think he'll probably materialize somewhere else down the road. There's already talk about him entering the transfer portal at the end of the season. I mean, he can't enter the draft if he doesn't play well this year, so he might as well just go back and ride to, get his stock back up to where he needs to be. Yeah. I mean, he looked like he was going to be a first-round pick coming off of last year. All he needed to do was build off of what – because remember, last year he got benched. And then he came back and he fought and he played very well the last 9 games.
Yeah.
But you can't go into this year going into the draft if you're not, people know what Spencer Rattler is. He's a talented kid, but he is a little bit of a egghead. So,
yeah, and it's not even his arm talent or whatever. It's just decision making. It's you get rattled too fast. No pun intended. It looks bad when he's in a game. It really does, and it looks, like I said, very inconsistent when he's in a game. Like 1 minute he's hot, 1 minute he's like super cool, And last game, it showed like, dude, you're on a short lease already. Just play this game and win. They were getting destroyed. Coach was like, all right, I gotta make a change. I have to make a change. And ever since he made that change, the team rallied around Williams, and they came around, and I don't know what happened to Texas, man. They fell asleep or something. They thought they had it.
The fact that Oklahoma was able to run the ball for like over 300 yards, it was ridiculous. I mean, what happened to Texas in defense? I mean, what happened to that? Like, Texas is known for running games and playing good defense. I mean, really, they haven't done any of them. And don't get me wrong, Bijan Robinson is a stud, but you look at his carries, he had 20 carries. This is a game where he probably should have had about 30 and keep Oklahoma's offense off the field in the second half. But they didn't play. They played like they were afraid to lose, and so they lost.
It was very, very surprising because, again, I could not watch the entire game fully out, but I'm watching it and just like, what is going on? It's just like, wait. They were up so much. I'm just like, oh, this game's over. I don't have to like pay attention that much.
Right.
And slowly, and then all of a sudden they're tied. I'm like, what? And then they won. I'm like, what happened? It just literally, Texas just literally fell apart, and it just tells you 2 bad, inconsistent teams. One of them got to lose. One got to win.
I mean, Kennedy Brooks ran for 217 yards. He averaged almost 9 yards a carry. I mean, was there any defense being played by the defensive line and the linebackers?
No.
I mean, you can't play a team like Oklahoma and think you're just going to catch guys. You got to hit them. I mean, really, I'm surprised like that, and that's why you had to get Rattler out of there, because he's one of them guys that once you hit him, he falls apart, man.
Yeah. And they must have been hitting that Texas team because they fell apart. They
looked like they were the whole second half like they were playing not to lose the game.
Yeah.
Like catching guys, thinking, okay, well, we're going to let them get yardage, and then we'll just stop them. And then they didn't stop them.
Yeah. It was
a lot
bad. Of missed tackles after a while.
I mean, it's funny because normally you would think, well, if they got to play Alabama, I'm talking about Oklahoma now because Texas, we know. Texas is not. Texas is a solid team. They're not making the. They're not going to ever make. They're not going to make the playoffs.
No.
Oklahoma, we'd have thought like early in the season maybe had a shot. Right now, they don't look like a playoff team either. But you can see them putting enough points on the board, where they'd have an outside chance. Right now, honestly, no one's beating Georgia. Georgia's defense is too good.
I agree.
Their defense is really good.
It's funny because you could call this the SEC potential game with both of them now leaving the Big 12 for the SEC. You would think like, all right, this is our time to like show what we got for this new lead that we got. No, but I don't believe in either team. I don't.
No, and I don't either. But you know what? It's funny you bring it up because this is a microcosm of that.
Mhm.
Oklahoma will be okay in the SEC, and it will help them with recruiting. No, it will.
Yeah.
I mean, this team right now, no. But
Yeah.
2-3 years or a year or so after they start recruiting SEC as an SEC team, they'll be fine. Texas is going to be a mid-level team. And I don't know who suggested they move to the SEC, but it's not a good move for them. But do what you want. Hopefully they're paying you a lot of money to do it because honestly, it's not going to be a good move for you. It's not.
Nah, it's not a good move, and this game was just weird to see. It was just really weird to see this game, and just okay. I like if it would have swung either way. Like let's say Oklahoma started off the game and they were playing really well. I'm like, all right, it makes sense. And they're playing Texas, or like if Texas would have kept the lead, I'd be like, all right, it makes sense because Oklahoma's very inconsistent. But like the way it was, it was like one team was playing in the beginning, then the other one, then they flip flopped, and it was bad, right? It was really bad.
It was, and I don't know what schedule. Here's the other problem with Texas. Who do they play this week? I'm not even sure of that. Texas. I bet you they don't play well.
And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they got a great game. I got hold on. Let me see if I have it right here. Oklahoma State.
Texas is playing Oklahoma State.
Yep.
You know what? I have them winning that game, so they'll probably win it. But I bet you they don't play that well. I mean, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. You can't play in the SEC and not be a consistent team, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't do it. You can't go play in that conference and think, oh well, we're gonna have an easy game. No, every team in that conference has talent. Every team.
Yeah.
Some of them are, of course, more talented than others. But even a team like LSU, who's really struggling this year, I can go in there and find a handful of players that are NFL guys. So they're going to have talent on that team. And the thing is, Texas has talent. They just don't. There's no consistency, man.
Definitely. Facebook user, thank you. I believe this is Remy, if I'm not mistaken. Oklahoma has been recruiting lights out in the Big 12. Not sure how much better it can get. It could get better. It could get better. Look at their team. It could get better. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, how are they playing right now? And when's the last time they won anything? So it has to get a little better, or they're done.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't argue that they're doing it because they feel like they can recruit more talent if they're playing out of the SEC, because that's the only reason to do it.
Yeah.
Why would you leave as a big fish in a small pond and then make yourself a chance where you could be that small fish in a big pond? No, you have to try to recruit better, or you're not going to compete. And if you're not doing it for recruiting purposes, then you might as well just stay in the Big 12.
Definitely. I will say this, that Oklahoma is about to get a really good quarterback and a kid named Makai Nelson. He's going to be out in 2023. So keep an eye on him. He's a really good recruit. He's going to be a good quarterback. I want to see how he does there, but that's one good piece that I think they're going to have. This kid been getting recruited since he was a freshman. So
they're doing this for one reason, because they see too many people that live in the Oklahoma, Texas area go to Alabama, go to LSU. And they're only doing it to play in the SEC. Yeah. So they're thinking if we're in the SEC, them guys will come to us. And they may be right, and we'll find out. But Texas is not going to benefit from that. So
he says that they recruited nothing but 5-star recruits, dude. They just don't play any defense. I'm not sure what they are going to do about that. If they're getting 5-star recruits and they can't do defense, this is like, what's the point,
Well, no, they get 5-star recruits, offensive linemen, and skill players.
Yeah.
But not even quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But the skill players, yeah. Because they know they can pass the ball. They're going to throw the ball like crazy and put up good numbers. Like you said, do they get top 5-star defensive players? No, they don't. Okay, and they're hoping they can now.
They are 2.5 in recruiting every year. What are you guys talking about? They're not the top team though. Like it's you can recruit all you want, but if they're not getting good talent, those stars they look good, but those stars don't really mean that much if the team's not gonna be playing well. What's the point of having all those 5-star recruits if they're not gonna win with them?
If they're not doing it for recruiting, why are they doing it?
Avery, we are talking about Oklahoma. So we're talking about the Oklahoma versus what's the game? What was it? Oklahoma versus I'm blanking on it. Texas. We talking about Oklahoma versus Texas. That game. Bro, that goes on coaching. Not sure how things are gonna be they got Lincoln Riley, man. Lincoln Riley been balling with everybody else on that team, with the other quarterbacks and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. So, thank you for coming on, though. We do thank you. We're gonna move on to our next game, and we're gonna talk about the Boise State versus BYU game. Boise State beating BYU. Surprisingly, BYU was ranked, I believe, 11 at the time. They was ranked 10 at the time. Losing to Boise State. They came out firing. There was with 10 points, and then they didn't score into the fourth quarter. Ray, what do you think about this game? The Broncos won in 26-17.
I wasn't a fan of this game, honestly, Jerome. It was a little boring for me.
Yeah.
Neither team could really establish anything offensively. It was more of a defensive struggle where a guy scored a touchdown here. I mean, again, it was a competitive game, but it wasn't an exciting game. Hank Bushmeyer for Boise State had a solid game, 18 of 29, but only 172 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Again, no one ran the ball great. It was just kind of like a sloppy game, slugfest type of game. It wasn't exciting. I didn't get to watch it, but I did watch the highlights of it. It wasn't a great game to watch. So I really didn't get into it that much, to be honest with you. Quarterback for BYU played pretty well. Jared Hall actually, had 302 yards and a touchdown. But he did have an interception. But doesn't mean like Tyler Algier, the running back, only averaged 3.8 yards a carry. It just was not. If you like some offensive game, like football, like it's just not good. It wasn't a good game. He's right about that. BYU, BYU is another team. If you're a quarterback, go there. Wide receiver, you'll throw up some numbers, but you won't win anything.
Yeah. I agree with you, Ray, that Hall had a really good game. He actually had a career game in yards and couldn't do nothing with it. Like he was getting yards, but wasn't getting in the end zone. And like you said, it was a very sloppy game. Mm-hmm. Running game wasn't that great.
Nope.
I mean, it was for the most part, it was fairly balanced. It was a little bit more passing. It wasn't like totally all balanced with them, but it was just like you said, a sloppy game. I wasn't that impressed with this game, but it was a close game, so I didn't want to fit it on here.
I mean, it was a competitive game. It just wasn't a good game. That's all.
I agree. All right, let's go to our next game, and this is we're gonna just get to it, man. We're gonna rip that Band-Aid off and go to the Alabama game. Since Avery's in here, we're gonna talk about this. So Avery, I want to hear your opinions on this game. So put your comment right down here, and everybody else that's listening, do the same thing. Put your comments right down here. We're gonna talk about this Alabama game because Alabama, if you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, Alabama number one for forever. It's the age of time, like I think Ray was like 12 years old last time Alabama wasn't ranked number one. I'm joking. I kid.
Nah, but if you remember before Nick Saban went there, the Mike Shula years were pretty lame, dude. So
yeah, no, you're right. But losing to Texas A&M, a team that we thought was going to be a little bit better than they have been, coming to this game at 3-2, beat Alabama. I mean, shocking game. What's some of your takeaways from this as I get to some of these comments?
Again, I just thought that Alabama played uninspired. I keep waiting for them to play more consistently, and it's just not happening. I don't understand. I can't explain why, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to watch a lot of the game though, because there were other games going on at the time.
Yeah.
I did watch the highlights of it. I mean, we know that CJ Spiller is a special player. He is,
Yes.
but I mean, he didn't even do anything, and they still won. I don't understand. I just didn't. And again, I watched the highlights of it. I just thought like, Kazeta, the quarterback for Texas A&M, was 21 to 31 for 285 yards, three touchdowns. Had a good solid game. They ran the ball okay. They threw the ball okay. They just didn't. I don't. Alabama fell too far behind and just never recovered. So
yeah, I agree. It was just one of those games where Alabama just. I mean, it was 17-7 at the end of the first quarter. So, like you said, Alabama fell behind too early and they couldn't recover. And it was just like Avery's. I'm skipping out on your thing right here, but it says, especially late. Yes, especially late. The defense was definitely undisciplined late, and they could not capitalize and allowed the kick to go through, and lost the game. And that was a very surprising game. I mean, this was one of those games where you like, it's Alabama, they should win. You don't have to pay too much attention to it, but they lost. And I don't even know if did we vote on this one, Ray?
We did not actually.
No, we did, and we both got it wrong.
Oh, you know what, Jerome? Let me see.
I got it right here.
Let me check. Oh yeah, we did. Well, of course. Did we? Alabama was an 18-point favored.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like I said to you earlier, and I said in the beginning of the broadcast, they've not covered their last 4 games in a row. Now that is unheard of for Alabama.
That is very unheard of. Yeah, definitely.
Usually when Nick Saban loses, he comes back with vengeance the next couple of games. He has a lot of Bill Belichick traits with that. So
yeah, Alabama will still win the SEC and be in the playoffs. I would bet my life on it. We'll see. They still got some other teams that are gonna for them, and they still gotta play Georgia. I mean, we can't just necessarily just write off Georgia and being a loss, but we'll see. Because I did say this too. I was like, I think Alabama's gonna struggle the first couple of games, and then get right back on a horse. And it seems like they play actually decent in the beginning, but now I feel like they didn't grow from their wins in the beginning. It says type of game that would potentially get them in shape
and not allow anybody to score more than 14 the rest of the year, hopefully. No, Avery's right. If Nick Saban has anything, and we've been talking about that earlier too, Jerome, like Alabama's defense is not played well, but we do expect them to play better as the season comes on. And Avery's kind of saying the same thing. We're expecting them to play better, but we're kind of waiting for it to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So
exactly, yeah. So, this was a very surprising game. I know a lot of Georgia fans. Again, I live in Atlanta. A lot of Georgia fans was happy about that game. So I was definitely hearing about it. Just a hiccup, man. We've seen them lose a game in a season and bounce back. With that, let's not even count them out. Not counting them out. But this was a Texas A&M team that was very underwhelming this year. And they snuck up on Alabama, and I just think that Alabama still got some really good games down the line to be hiccuping right now.
That's the surprise.
Yeah.
If they'd have lost, they're not going to play Georgia, but if they'd have lost to, I don't have the Alabama schedule. If they'd have lost to a better team, we'd be like, okay, well, it happens. It's not the first time Alabama's. Again, we talked about before where they lost to Johnny Manziel a few years ago. I mean, it's not like they haven't had these hiccups before. Yeah. They're usually not a team like Texas A&M where they're 18-point favorites.
Exactly. All right, they don't play Georgia. I apologize. They play Mississippi State this week. They play Texas. They play LSU, New Mexico. They do play Arkansas. That could be a potential one right there. And they do play Auburn. So Remy might be right. But because I can't see, I mean, we're going to talk about LSU.
Here, before we get to anything else, I want to remember Oklahoma has a 10th ranked class going into next year as far as recruiting, okay? Not top 5, 10, Okay. And the top 3 teams are all the top 4 teams are everybody except for Ohio State is second. But the other 3 teams are all SEC teams. Okay. So,
yeah, I agree.
not to prove a point, but to prove a point.
No, and that's what I thought. I was just like,
I mean, it's easy to say things, but I have it like on my computer board in front of me, the top 10 recruited teams. And Oklahoma is 10th, not in the top 5, but it's okay.
He says Texas A&M is underwhelming, no doubt, but teams still got a lot of talent. They do.
They do, but and if CJ Spiller went off for like 200 yards and scored 3 touchdowns, I'd be like, okay, what happens? But he didn't. He averaged 2.7 yards a carry.
He says, okay, relax, Ray. It's still very early. Check last year and the year before and the year before.
Hell, we're not arguing that Oklahoma recruits good players because they do. And I am very calm, believe me. If you work with me, you would know that I am very, very, very calm. This is very relaxing for me. Work is strenuous. This is fun and relaxing. Yes, but again, if Oklahoma didn't do this to recruit better players, there was no reason to do it.
I love you, Ray. I hate doing this podcast without ever doing the video because Ray doesn't stop talking out his behind and can't respond.
Everybody. Oh, here's another thing. Jacob, right? Our guy, is he listening to us tonight? I hope he is.
I'm not sure. But go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna.
Jacob? If you're listening, you can message to Jerome. How you liking the defensive end from Miami now? I just had his name, Gregory Rizzo. How are we liking him now?
Yeah.
3 sacks, 4 games. Go ahead.
He's playing well.
Yeah. Man, you can argue with me when it comes to skill players because everybody misses on skill players. Yeah. Not when it comes to defensive and offensive linemen, man. It's my bread and butter, man. It just is.
Yeah. So, Remy, if you ever want to jump on, man, let me know.
Anybody who wants to jump on, I would be more than welcome. I more than welcome him. I would be excited. I mean, me and Jerome get tired of picking on each other.
We invite guests. So you're a long time listener. You always come on. If you ever want to just come on, let us know. We'll get you in here, man. We'll get you in here. But let's move on because we don't want to waste too much time on just the picks, the games that happen. So let's get into some of the other really good games. Penn State versus Iowa. Ray.
You blocked me there, Jerome. For some reason, you faded away on me. What were you saying now?
Remy says, I'm jumping on next time. Count me in.
You got it, man.
Let's go. Let's get in there.
Sounds beautiful.
Definitely. But let's get into
just give me one favor. If you wear Ohio State gear, just not make it too loud, okay?
Yeah, just stay home with that one. But we are gonna get to the Penn State versus Iowa game. Another really good close game, 3-point win for Iowa. I got this game right. I picked Iowa for this game. I kind of feel cheated just a little bit because they lost they was playing very well until Sean Clifford got injured, and then all of a sudden they just fell apart. Ray, what's your take on this whole game?
As bad as Sean Clifford is, he's not as bad as their backup quarterback. I don't even want to say his name because when me and Jerome had this discussion about him before we got on, and Jerome's already written the book off and like he can't play. But I mean, it's anybody who's ever had to go in and play for somebody who got all the starting reps, and I'm getting like 20% of them. It's difficult. It's a difficult situation to put yourself in. Sean Clifford's not that good,
especially being a quarterback.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're a backup quarterback. You're playing in a big game against a very good team. Yeah. Iowa is a very good defensive team. Exactly. So it was tough on him. And losing Sean Clifford probably cost them the game, which sounds crazy to say, but they were moving the ball up and down the field before he got hurt.
Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Sean Clifford. I voiced my opinion on him multiple times. I think that it's just funny that my man came in through 20 times, only 7 completions, through 2 picks, and got 34 yards in that game. Clifford wasn't good either. He threw for 25. He did have more yards, obviously. 146 yards, but he also threw 2 interceptions. So, like, yes, Clifford went out. Yes, the backup was really, really bad, but Clifford was not that much better. He was not.
Where he helped him is he knew when to take off with the ball and get first downs.
And I was just about to.
That's experience, dude. I think the backup quarterback is probably more athletic than him, but didn't have the timing down in his head. When should I take off with the ball?
And this is my problem with that game is that Penn State did not run the ball well at all.
They didn't.
And Clifford was leading the team in rushing yards, and he only had 36.
Yes,
that's bad.
They're in Penn State's inability to get Noah Cain, who's a decent player, playing better football was really not good.
I thought Sean Clifford as bad. The backup stinks.
Yes, I'm not going to say he stinks. He played really bad.
I admit I said the same thing as Remy, but what Ray is saying is 100% correct. Hostile environment. Oklahoma. I was home, right? Yeah, I was home.
Yeah.
Hostile environment, tough defense, not getting a lot of reps in practice. I can't say he's terrible. His first game, didn't have a full game. So I can't say he's terrible, but he had a very bad game.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers' first game, he lost by 33 points in college. So again, and this guy's not Aaron Rodgers. I'm not trying to say. I'm just saying when you're a first-time starter, you're playing at a big-time program because Penn State is a big program. They're a good football team.
Yeah. And
honestly, I think they're a better team than Iowa. And I think down the road, if they have to play them again, they'll beat them.
Definitely. So, yeah, let's get to our next game. We're going to skip around just a little bit. I do have one question for you, Ray. We was going to go touch a little bit more in depth with this game, but I'm going to ask just a quick question. LSU versus Kentucky. LSU looked bad in this game again. Didn't score until the second half of the game. Kentucky is starting to roll over players. Is there a potential sleeper team, right?
They're a potential sleeper team to upset a good team. They're not going to win their conference, obviously, but they're a good team. They're a good offensive team, especially. I like their team. Mm-hmm. I think they're really good. I think what we're seeing really is LSU is not very good, man. They're just not. And they have some athletes on that team, but their front seven is not good. And again, like I say all the time, I don't care if you have who you have in your secondary. If you don't get to the quarterback, you're not going to win games.
You're right, though. You're right. Kentucky had a really tough game this upcoming game. So we'll talk about Kentucky a little bit more in our pick'ems, but I do want to get to your guys' game. Notre Dame playing Virginia Tech. 3-point win. Ray, what's your takeaway from that game against Virginia Tech?
I'm glad they won. They maybe didn't deserve to, but I'm glad they won. Mm-hmm. With Notre Dame, you see what you see every week. Their offensive line is not very good. Mm-hmm. Jack Cohn has no mobility, can do some things. He has a solid arm. He's a solid pocket quarterback. He can't get away from the rush, so you have to get rid of the ball quickly. Tyler Buckner, who, again, if you watch him play, some people may say, oh, well, he stinks, but he's a first-year quarterback at a big program, but he's athletic enough to help out in the running game and get out of the pocket, where Cohn's not. If you had both of these guys and one guy, you'd have a pretty good quarterback, but because you don't, you have to mix match. And as the old saying goes, man, if you got 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't really have one. Yeah. So, I'm rooting for them to win. I don't think right now their defense has played anywhere near as well as they did last year, but I do know that they've lost some players, and losing Cormella, who was a difference maker not only in your front seven, but in your secondary last year. Losing him may have been the biggest player that you lost this offseason, basically.
I agree. And it just you guys making me wonder, should Coastal Carolina be over y'all? I mean, Coastal Carolina is 15. You guys are I think y'all was 14, I believe.
Yeah, we're 14.
Yeah, so y'all start. I mean, I'm not gonna say it yet, but
Joe,
you
didn't ask me to respond to Coastal Carolina being ranked higher than Notre Dame, right?
No, I.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to be like, dude. I try as hard as I can to be objective, and of course, I love Notre Dame. I'll be the dude. Yeah. I went there. I've been a Notre Dame fan since I was a Notre Dame fan before I was ever a football fan.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like coincided with each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm not as big a pro fan, but I do like the NFL. Obviously, I'm not a moron. I like the NFL. Mm-hmm. But I've only been a Dolphins fan for, I think, actually, believe it or not, 50 years now, 51 years. Wow. I've been a Notre Dame fan for 52 years. So, I mean, is Coastal Carolina, do they deserve to be ranked ahead of Notre Dame? If you look at how well they played in their games, you can make an argument for it. Yeah. But they haven't played anybody as good as the teams at Notre Dame.
I give you that. But it's just
but again, I mean,
it's just annoying me because I don't like Notre Dame. I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I don't hate them. Like I don't hate them as much as I hate Alabama or Ohio State. But it's just like I was actually giving them props this year. I'm like, and I said this over and over again. I'm like, their defense is gonna help them. They got good running. They got running back rather. I thought they was gonna be so much better this year, and they were struggling almost every. They had one game they showed dominance, and every game they struggled.
They lost depth on the defensive line. That's hurt them, but losing Koromoa, who may have been their best player on defense last year when it's all said and done, him or Kyle Hamilton, obviously. Yeah. Losing those guys in the middle of your defense to make plays on your back end has really hurt them. And Notre Dame's corners aren't very good either. So,
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's get to a nice game. Obviously, we're going to talk about this game because this is my game. Michigan versus Nebraska. Another 3-point close game. Michigan, it was a rough one. Happy they won. Right. What is your takeaway from this game?
The same thing I just said about Notre Dame. I think if you're a Michigan fan, you're happy you won. Mm-hmm. You're probably not excited how you won. Yeah. But it's always better waking up the next morning after your team won, man.
Yeah. I mean,
it just is,
This was the one game that I was like, what is our defense doing? And we will give up some bad penalty plays too. That was hurting us a lot in this game. Some of those penalties were really, really, really bad. Remy says, answer my question. So Remy did have a question. I didn't read it on the screen, so that was my fault. But who's the guy that played against Wisconsin and he's the starter now for? I'm guessing he's talking about Notre Dame.
The quarterback?
I'm guessing that's what he's talking about.
Well, if he's talking about Jack Cohn, he's a transfer from he played
Boston College.
What's that?
Boston College, right?
Yeah, no, he played at hold on a second. It'll come back to me as soon as I stop thinking about it here. It'll come back to me. But he played for Wisconsin last year. He entered the transfer portal. Yeah. Remember, he got hurt, and he lost his starting job to somebody else. So he entered. The other guy is Tyler Buckner. Buckner's a talented kid. Yeah. He doesn't throw with any anticipation right now. So he telegraphs his throws. He kind of looks down the wide receivers that he's throwing to. Buckner has more of an upside. Jack Cohn is going to be your.
He said not Cohn, the guy that came in for him against. So he's talking about the kid he's talking about.
He may be talking about him. Dude, he could be talking about Pine too. Drew Pine.
Drew Pine came in.
He didn't play in this game, but he played
He
in
came in before.
the previous 2 games. Drew Pine is a little bit like the quarterback that I've had the last couple years. He's that guy. He's athletic. He's a solid athlete. He's not as fast as Ian Book, but he has a lot of Ian Book in him. And then he's a smaller guy who gets the ball out with decent anticipation. They have to. That's again.
What's going on, Dan? Thank you for having a chat here. Pick the games that you want us to cover, and we're gonna get right into the games we're gonna cover in a second. So go ahead. Go ahead, Ray. You can continue.
No, Drew Pine. Notre Dame has 3 guys they played this year, and you know how I feel about that, dude. You've played 3 quarterbacks because you're not sure of any of the 3. So it's going to be whoever plays on end. I like Drew Pine. He's a nice little player, though. He played very well 2 games ago. He didn't play that great against Cincinnati either. He gave him some energy and some life, but he didn't even complete half of his passes. They don't have anybody. Tyler Buckner has the best upside of any of the 3, but none of them are going to set the world on fire.
Definitely. All right, cool. All right, let's finish up with the Michigan game real quick. Let's wrap that one up. What is your take on Nakamura?
Solid system quarterback. I don't see anything special about him. I think that if you want to use him to his best capabilities, you need to run the ball and you need to be physical up front and let him just pick the guys. Like, he looks good. I mean, I hate the term from in a clean pocket, but when he doesn't have a lot of traffic right in front of him, he plays fairly well.
Definitely. Remy says, I was talking about Drew Pine. That kid looks sharp.
He does, and he's got a little Ian Book to him. He throws on time. Mm-hmm. He's a good enough athlete where he can get out of the pocket. It's a shame he's only 5'11".
Small guy.
Yeah.
All right. I agree with you, Ray, with the Cade Nakamura assessment. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of times I'm like, dude, I kind of want to see McCaffrey, and man, like, he got, like, watching him a couple of times this season, he got the athletic ability to pin him in on wildcat formation sometimes, and he looks very athletic, and he can throw. This man can throw out the yard. I'm ready to see him at this point. I don't think he should play this year. Still, he's still a little raw, still young. But he's making me excited for next year because I know that we're gonna have Corum back next year. I think Haskins eligible for the draft, if I'm not mistaken. So we might not have that 1-2 punch. So having Corum and JJ McCaffrey and doing the Wildcat. I mean, not the Wildcat. The RPO. Of course, I forgot how to say RPO on our RPO podcast. But the RPO, doing the RPOs and stuff like that. I think next year. I think I got a lot to be excited about next year also. So I think that's going to be cool. But I just wanted to get your take on that. But yeah, I just think that Michigan, man, that game didn't give me the confidence that I needed to feel like we were enough. I'm glad that we're ranked number 9 now. That's pretty cool. No, we're 8 now, I believe, in the newest ones. But I think it's just it makes me wonder, because we got some games coming up. We still got to play Penn State. We got to play Michigan State. We got to play – who's the other team we got to play? Well, you already know that team. So we got those games coming up, and it's just like we got to be a little bit more sharper. We just got to be a little bit more sharper. It to make me feel like we're going to be okay. But
you know what? When do you play – you do play Ohio State this year?
Yes.
When? Do you know that?
Last game of the year at our house.
You might want to go to Notre Dame and pray, dude.
Take me. I'll go. I'll go. Let's get off of this. We're gonna get off the week 6 review, and we're gonna go with our pick'em. Before we help our man out, James, with his lineup. Let's give the folks to see our records. I am. Just froze. We good?
It froze. Go ahead.
Okay. I was one game. I thought I had one game up on him this week. I was like, I'm inching closer to Ray, and then Ray pulls the wait. Arkansas didn't win. I'm like, I forgot they lost by 1 point. So that sucked for me. So now I'm behind 5 games instead of being behind just 3 games. So I'm upset about that. But Ray, you're doing well, man. 42 for 21. Anything you want to say about that?
Nah, it's just picking the line, dude. It's all luck, basically. I mean, I do what I have to do. I mean, like I said to you earlier, I wish I knew exactly how I did against the line. Yeah. I know when I picked Alabama lately, I haven't done well. So,
I don't think any of us did. No. All right, let's get to our weeks. It says week 6, but let's get to our week 7 pick'ems. And again, before we do that, we're gonna help our man James out right now. So we're gonna put his comments on here. He has UTEP favored by. I'm sorry, UTEP is not favored. Louisiana Tech is favored by 7. Who you got in that one, Ray? I'm gonna let you take the reins on these.
I would, if I'm going to bet with the line, I'm taking Louisiana Tech, dude. I have to.
I agree. I think Louisiana Tech is the better team.
I have to. I think that their offense is a lot better than UTEP. Oh, yeah. They both have solid defenses, though.
Mm-hmm. So. UTEP got a really good running back, though.
They do. They do. UTEP is
McCorum.
They do. He's very good. And honestly, if you could find a way to put him out in space and take advantage of maybe a mismatch, Louisiana Tech's defense is good. Their line is good. The secondary is solid. Their linebackers are not great, though.
Yeah.
So if you can make some mismatches in the middle of their defenses, maybe you could pull out the upset. But if I had to bet, I would bet on Louisiana Tech.
Definitely. So he also has Arizona State and Utah. So this is actually one of the games that we're gonna have for our pick'em. So we're gonna get right to that for you, right? James, I'm sorry. So Ray, who you got in this one? Arizona State or Utah?
I'm taking Arizona State just to win the game.
Arizona State is favored by 3 according to him. Let me check what I got.
I have 1.
You have 1. I have. Let's see what I got. I have. Let me see. Utah. Where are you, Utah? Where are you? They usually do night games, so it should be at the.
They are. They're gonna be at the end of the
season. I have them as a pick'em.
Yeah, so I have 1. So if with my line, I would jump all over Arizona State. With a 3-point line, I probably would lean towards Arizona State, but I would probably not want to play the game, not with a 3-point line.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. This was definitely a tight game. I've been getting burnt every time I pick Utah, and I get burnt every time I pick against Utah. So I don't know what to do right now, but if I'm gonna go smart, like I usually do, I'm gonna say actually Arizona State. I'm gonna give it Arizona State.
I mean, to win the game, I feel good about them winning the game.
Yeah,
but when they beat them by 3 points,
yeah,
that's going to be close, dude. That's probably a field goal game, one way or the other. So,
like it says, it's a pick'em game.
It is.
It's a pick'em game. So, good luck with that one. And then the last one you have is Fresno State, which is favored by 3 versus Wyoming. Ray, who you got in that one?
Wow. You know what the line?
Here's some good ones.
Fresno State is favored by 3.
According to him, I'm checking mine right now.
Because I don't have that line in front of me.
They're favored by 3.5 on mine.
Fresno State is?
Yes.
So you know what? I would take Fresno State then to cover the 3.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Any best bets for these weekend games to cover, Ray? Ray the Money Man. You got a new nickname, Ray. Ray the Money Man. I like it. Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what? I would take UCLA to outright beat Washington State and cover the 1.5 point line.
Okay.
That Washington State is favored by the way.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, James. If you ever have any other questions, definitely come on. We do appreciate you being on here with us. And like we always say, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to know when we are live on here, so you can't get your pick'ems in. And if you can't go on live, you could definitely always put your comments in the chat room, and me and Ray will definitely comment back for you. All right. Let's get to our games now, Ray. So we both have Arizona State. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right, Arizona State. Got to write that down for our pick'ems. All right, let's get to our first one. We got Nebraska versus Minnesota. Ray, who you got in that one as I look for my line?
And we know I love PJ Fleck, but I think Nebraska will win the game. So, and it may be a field goal game.
They're favored by 4 and they're away.
Yeah, I will take Nebraska.
I'm going the same way, Ray. I seen what they did to us last week, and I think they're just the better team than Minnesota this week. So I'm gonna do the same thing.
They are. I think they are too. I think that if they could get their quarterback to wake up, they'd be a better team. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Real quick with James, he says Tulsa went favored by 10 against South Florida. Tulsa, man, you see what Tulsa been doing to teams lately? They've been playing good against good teams. I'm taking Tulsa all day.
I would take Tulsa only because their defense was smother South Florida, and that allowed them to do a whole lot on offense.
Okay, UCLA to win outright. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen to this man, Ray. He's better than me.
Calm down.
Right now. I'm coming back with this.
I'm
going to come with some good ones.
You're only 5 games back, like the Phillies were. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Right. Anyway, always gotta go there. Oklahoma State versus Texas. Ray, who you got in that one? We just seen Texas just get obliterated. But they're favored by 5.
I got to take Texas.
Really?
How could you not take them? They're favored by 5.5. How could you not take them? They're playing at home.
I know
they just lost a huge game to Oklahoma. If they lose this game,
Oklahoma State is good though. They're 5-0 right now. They're playing pretty well. I got
okay. All right. Well, I got Texas. Got it. You have Oklahoma State?
That was me dabbing.
Do you have Oklahoma State?
I'm going Oklahoma State. I cannot trust Texas in the entire year. They looked really good last year.
Here's an all point. Here's a bulletin for you. I don't trust any of these teams. I trust the lines that are put out on them.
All right. True. I can do that. Yeah, I'm going to listen. I go by my heart. I'm going to keep doing it, and it's probably why I'm losing right now. but listen, I'm going to keep going with my heart with it.
You know the difference is Jerome likes heart and I like money, okay?
This is why we're not doing this for money. So, hey, I can take a limo on these ones, all right?
There you go.
All right, next game, UNC versus Miami. Who you got in that one, Ray?
I got UNC.
UNC is
they're favored by 7 points, 7.5, and they're playing in Miami.
Yeah,
I don't understand the line, but it tells me to jump all over UNC, so I'm going to jump all over UNC.
Yeah, I'm going to go UNC for the same reasons that I'm not going for Texas, and they are favored by 7 on mine as well.
Jerome, the first thing you need to remember about betting on games is last week has nothing to do with this week, which has nothing to do with next week.
I agree. I know.
Oh, that's not what you just said, though.
I'm looking at teams.
Okay. All right. Jerome, can you hear me right now or no?
All right.
You know what I don't understand?
I can hear you now.
You're in charge of this. You have the whole control. Why do you keep fading out and I don't? As it freezes again.
I don't know why, Ray. I don't. It just You had, I don't know. Maybe you had control. Maybe you really had control.
I don't. I believe me. If I were in control of the computer, we probably wouldn't be on the air right now. So,
UCLA is playing Washington, not Washington State. I think he did say Washington. He might have said Washington State by accident, but I do remember him saying I do remember.
No, they're playing Washington.
Yeah. I love it, Ray. Yes, Ray is the money man. Ray's the money man.
Okay.
All right, let's get.
Has freeze up again. I don't know, Jerome. I think you need to leave Georgia. It's not doing you.
Georgia's messing with me right now.
Apparently it is, because right now I hear you talk about it. I see your face moving.
Yeah, Georgia's messing up. Georgia's messing me up right now.
I got you.
Definitely. But I'm gonna go with VTech. I think they're a better team. I know Pitt is favored, but I'm going with VTech. I'm gonna win this week, Ray. Watch, I'm gonna win this week.
Okay, and I'm going with Pittsburgh because they're favored by 5.
I know you are.
All right.
All right. Georgia, Kentucky. I mean,
oh.
But Ray, hold on. Talking about we did that last week. All right, they're favored by 23.
Georgia's defense is the best defense in college football. Okay.
Yeah. So, Ray, is there any chance that Oklahoma wins this game? I mean, we said the same thing last week with Alabama, and we both got burned on it. We think about
any chance that Mississippi State beats Alabama?
No, it's Kentucky. I'm sorry. I get what you're saying. So last week we were both like.
So you're saying is there any chance that Kentucky beats Georgia?
Because we said the same thing last week, right? And we both had Alabama.
Here's the chance.
We both was like,
here's your chance.
Yeah.
Snowball's chance in hell. Okay.
Right. I'm just letting you know these episodes are being recorded.
Dude, Alabama's defense is right now it's a dam with a bunch of holes in it, with a bunch of thumbs in it. Georgia's defense is elite at all 3 levels right now.
Yeah, I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm struggle busting right now. So let's try to hurry up and get through these because I'm really struggle busting right now. All right, real quick.
So you have Kentucky?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just wanted to make sure.
I just wanted to, Ray, I'm telling you, we did this last week. I just wanted to make sure because we said Bama last week and we got burned for it. All right. We're gonna talk about Bama again. Bama versus Mississippi State. I don't know the line on that, but I do have this one. Well, Bama for the first time in like ages lose 2 in a row.
No.
I want to know what their line is.
17.
17? Okay, yeah. Same with Georgia then. Okay.
Yep.
Obviously I'm picking Bama again. I would have been more questionable last week than this week, like we were last week. I said the same exact thing. Will Texas A&M have a chance to win Alabama? Obviously, we both didn't think that would come to fruition, but it did. I'm not going to even speculate this one. It's not even the same type.
You know what's crazy, Jerome? If they'd have won last week against Texas A&M and lost this week, that wouldn't have shocked me.
Really?
Yeah. But now that they lost last week, there's no way they're losing this week. No way. It's not going to happen.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because the consistency in the team.
Yeah, Mississippi State is a better team than Texas A&M.
I think Texas A&M is more talented. That's what I mean by it. That's what I meant by last week.
They were not a ranked team.
Yes, you're right.
I know I'm right.
State is a better team on paper, on record. But I think Texas A&M is more talented.
End of the day, Jerome, they only go by the record.
All right.
Sorry.
We're all numbers here, guys.
We are all numbers. There's no question about it.
We got 3 more games. Let's try to get through them real quick because, again, I'm struggle busting. Iowa State versus K-State. Who you got in that one, Ray?
I got Iowa State.
Iowa State. Iowa State.
You're not going to take K-State, man? You love K-State. Come on.
I always take K-State. I've been
I know you do.
all
That's
year.
part of the reason why I got a 5-game lead on you. God.
Hold on, I'm trying to look at the lines. I'm actually looking at
6.5. Iowa State's favored by 6.5 on the road.
What?
Exactly. God.
Wow.
I know, Jerome. You got Iowa State too. It's all good. Go to the next game.
I'm trying to look at mine. I got all right. I got Iowa winning by 6.5 away.
Yes.
Iowa been. That's another inconsistent team. I'm taking K-State.
I'm glad. I like that. I love that pick.
I know you do.
Here's the question, though.
That's why I'm taking K-State.
Except for Georgia, name one team in college football that hasn't been inconsistent this year. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, I'll give that.
Wow. Man,
the level of inconsistency, though. The level of inconsistency.
No, you're right about that. But again, this has been
there's a different
year. I mean, last year was a bad year.
Yes.
The whole Big Ten struggled except for Ohio State, and it was just a bad year. This has been the year of inconsistent football, except for Georgia.
I agree with you. All right. But there's a level. All right. Michigan been playing really well. There's a difference between Michigan's inconsistency, because there is inconsistencies with Michigan, and a Texas or a Oklahoma or a Iowa State. Those three teams are like the weirdest teams, because you would think there would be a lot better than they are, and it's just so like
the thing with it is Michigan last year for some reason decided they weren't going to run the ball as heavy as they had previously. Well, that's a mistake. That's why it won't happen again.
We're not allowed to talk about last year's Michigan.
No, but like last year, everybody except for Ohio State, everybody in the Big Ten last year struggled. It may have been the worst year I ever remember for Big Ten football.
And it was funny because Indiana looked very good last year.
They did, and they're right. I really, you know what it is? You don't think of Indiana as a top Big Ten team. Mm-hmm. But last year they were, because they were one of the better teams in the Big Ten. But really,
it might have been just the inconsistencies of the Big Ten last year.
It was inconsistencies of Michigan, of Michigan State, of Penn State that created that whole Indiana being that team.
Yeah, and Indiana barely beat Michigan. I mean,
they didn't. They barely beat Penn State, but in the end, they only care who wins and loses. That's the problem.
That's true. All right. Speaking of inconsistent teams, Oklahoma versus TCU. Who you got in that one, right?
I got Oklahoma, Jerome. Are you going to ask me that question? Really?
What's the line on that one?
12 at home.
Whoa. All right. That was way more than I was thinking, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer.
Yeah.
TCU been playing tough. They've been playing tough football.
And the fact that they're a pretty solid team and they're still underdog by 12 points tells you all you really need to know. Like if I had to play this game with the line, I would play TCU.
So, all right.
But to win the game, I got to play,
Ray, do you know for a fact that Williams is going to be the quarterback? Caleb Williams.
I don't know.
He's going to be the quarterback for sure.
I don't. Yeah. Judging by what you've heard about Spencer Rattler this week, yes, he should be the quarterback.
Okay. All right.
Because honestly, if I'm a coach and I'm hearing that this guy's even think about transferring to another team next year, he doesn't play for me anymore.
Definitely. I got 13.5, by the way. Oklahoma is home. I'm going to take them as well, as long as I know that Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback. You convinced me that they are, so I'm going to go Oklahoma. But if Spencer Rattler was playing, for some reason, it was like, all right, we want to give my guy another chance. I'll be like, I might have to take TCU, but I'm going to go Oklahoma.
I think that if Rattler felt like he had a shot of playing still, you probably wouldn't have heard them rumors about him not wanting to be there anymore.
Definitely.
I may be wrong about that. And again, I'm only hearing secondhand information. No one from Oklahoma told me that. But I did see a lot of alerts about Spencer Rattler wanting to transfer enter the transfer portal. So
definitely. All right, last game. You already mentioned this one. UCLA playing Washington. You are taking UCLA.
I'm taking UCLA to win the game outright. Yes, sir.
Yes. Washington is favorite at home by 2. I'm gonna go with UCLA as well. I just think they're a better team. Washington is a solid team. They're not good or great. They're solid. They're that level under good. They're good enough to make you worried a little bit, but they're not good enough to win and finish out, I believe. So
the only thing that scares me about this game is Chip Kelly and getting too pass happy. That scares me. But
anything dealing with Chip Kelly makes me weary. So.
Yeah, I just think that if you're UCLA, you need to go out here and just run the ball. And Washington's defense is okay, but it's nothing special. You need to take advantage of that.
Definitely. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I had fun battling out with Ray. Ray just picks the line out, go by my heart, and he's beating me right now. I can't be mad. But we'll see. I'm going to catch up. This is my week. I'm catching up. But you guys want to see how our rankings go and our records and our pick-ems for next week, please tune in back into Inside the Hashes, RPO presented by Inside the Hashes, RPO College Football Podcast. And please make sure you go follow us on Inside the Hashes at InsideTheHashes.com. We found all our content. We have 3 podcasts going, fantasy football podcasts. We got the RPO podcast, which is for college, and we got the Air Out podcast, which is for NFL, which is going to be airing tomorrow. So make sure you go check that out. As well with the guys, Avery. Speaking of Avery, shout out to Avery being in here. Shout out to Remy. Shout out to James. James, one of our newer guys. Thank you for being on. Thank you for subscribing at this. You subscribe. I do appreciate that. If you are new to here, definitely make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification button so we know that you can know that we are live, and you can put your comments in here. Have a lot of comments like my man James here got some good advice from Ray. So if you want stuff like that, you could definitely be here. Thank you, James. James just said thank you, guys. So I do appreciate you being in here. I do thank all you guys for hanging out with me with my technical difficulties. It was rough. So thank you guys. Ray, did you have something to say?
Yeah, Remy, man, we're looking forward to next week's episode with you, man. Yeah. Please make sure you make it.
Yes, make sure you get in here, Remy. Remy, DM me. We're gonna make that happen. We're gonna get you on here. But yeah, definitely.
Jerome needs some Big Ten help.
No. He's gonna talk about Ohio State the whole time. No. Maybe this is a bad idea. Remy, we definitely welcome you in. We will
absolutely. Remy's been on with us really almost since the beginning, and we appreciate anybody who listens. I really, really do. And anybody else who would like to get involved, just get in touch with Jerome. We're more than more than merrier. We may have to make it a 2-hour episode, but we're good.
You're about to make it a 2-hour now.
There you go.
Hey, we try to make it within a good, reasonable time for you guys to get out and
Here's the bottom line is we appreciate college football fans, and we appreciate anybody else who wants to come on and make our show better. And believe me, having feedback from other people will make the show better. So.
Yes, sir. I 100% agree with Ray saying. Make us better, man. We love talking football. We've been doing this for 2 years, 3 years now. We do this religiously, and we do this with the love of football at hearts. So we love you guys. We love you, college football fans. So please make sure you go follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go like all that stuff on there. We got some great content on there as well. If you haven't already seen that. Also, if you're into fantasy football, we got Fantasy Aces guys. They're really good at fantasy football. So you need any fantasy advice, those guys are there for you guys as well. So go check that out on all social media. And also, we got some great interviews. I already discussed one earlier. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the beginning of this episode so you know who I'm talking about. But we got some great interviews coming out, so make sure you go check that out on Inside the Hatches and all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So thank you guys once again. We are super excited about this next week. Michigan is on a bye week, so I don't know what game to watch. I don't know what game I'm going to focus on, but it is going to be. I'm always happy to watch any kind of college football, guys. So
who does Michigan play the week after?
I want to say Nebraska. I mean not Nebraska. Northwestern.
Okay, well, I will try to watch them then.
Okay. Good idea. Good idea.
I always try to watch the team that Notre Dame is going to play for like maybe even a couple weeks ahead of time.
This is why he's the man, the myth, the legend. So thank you guys for checking us out. I'm Jerome Jones. This is Ray Roberts. Thank you guys for checking us out. And again, we'll see you next time.